The Guide to Goals podcast gives you the tools, direction, and resources you need to pursue your passion project. I'm Deborah Eckerling, Project Catalyst, and this is the Guide to Goals podcast. Our guest today is Lena Anani, and we're going to talk about how to write a book. Lena has been featured on NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox for her work as the intuitive book coach who works with healers, artists, and coaches and helps them to write, publish, and promote their magic. Welcome, Lena. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Deborah.
Do you want to share a little bit more about your background with our watchers, listeners, audience? I love that you use the word magic.
Yeah, I love magic. So this whole path of mine started with magic. In 2003, I started along the path of like healing with herbology and holistic health, and which led to energy healing. So I would teach workshops, and I would start doing healing. I'd have my own healing practice, and then I wrote a couple books. And after I wrote a couple of books, I checked in with some of my clients and I said, hey, what's something that you'd like to see me teach that I haven't taught before? And unanimously, everyone said, can you teach me how to write a book? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. And so that's where the magical element, I do like, I do believe in the law of attraction. I believe in the laws of the universe, and I like to flow with that energy, and I like to do work with that energy. And I like the fact that I get to bring that magic. I mean, that's what I call magic, is that spiritual connection with God, with the universe, with however, you choose to call that all creative source that we're connected to. And that's the magic that I like to talk about. I like to bring that magic into all the work that I do, and I like to bring the magic out in the clients that I work with and help them bring that out into the work that they do.
Okay, so to the topic of writing a book, because I get this question a lot, because in addition to Guide to Goals, I also have Write On Online, my website and community for writers. But why should, and I hate to use the word should, but I'm going to anyway, why should someone write a book?
Why shouldn't someone write a book? So the common theme that I find with a lot of my clients and the authors that I've interviewed for my podcast is that they had this like strong calling, that they have this message, this life experience that they've had, and they want to put it into a book, and this like sense of achievement, the sense of completion, and most importantly, the sense of leaving a legacy behind is almost like 100% of the time, that is the reason why people want to write a book. That is the reason why you should write a book. You already wrote a book. I already know that because I interviewed you. But yeah, so that's why I write a book. It's because every time for me, I write a lot of nonfiction, and I always go through like challenging life lessons, and I like to take those life lessons and take what I've learned from that and put it into a book, so that hopefully someone who's going through that same challenging experience can pick up that book and borrow my life hacks, or borrow like my solutions to those life lessons and turn it into their hacks, how to move past those challenges quickly in one piece. That's why I wrote my book. And then, if you have a business, I think one of the best things you could do is write a book. Take the top 10 pieces of advice that you find yourself giving, like when you're doing talks or when you're networking, or when you're doing like discovery calls. You start to notice a pattern, a theme of questions that people keep asking you, and you can take that information and put it into a book, and it becomes like this really cool thick business card that you can promote. Like, hey, it's not, I'm not just full of information in my head. I actually took the time, put it down into written format, and here's my book. Why don't you read it? I mean, it's just great for business. It's great for personal. A lot of my clients are also they just did it for personal reasons. I have one who wrote her book for her grandchildren, and it's a great book. I gotta give you the title. It's called "Don't Ask If You Don't Want to Know." It's so great. Jeannie Frankovitz is the author, and she wrote that book for her grandchildren. It's basically 10 simple rules that she wanted them to know and remember to create a better life for themselves. And she wanted to leave something behind just in case that she couldn't be around forever. She wanted them to have her wisdom. And I've actually experienced her wisdom firsthand. So I love that she put it into a book for her kids. I'm like, I wish I had that book, but it was great.
And a lot of the people that I work with are entrepreneurs who write books for the reason you just said. I need, not just I want to write a book, but I need to write a book to expand my business. So, what do you recommend someone, especially, well, whether they're a writer or not, what do you recommend someone do to get started in their book writing process?
My favorite thing to tell people whenever they ask me that question is sit down and think about your who, what, why. Very important. Who are you writing the book for? And I'm not just saying like, what's your niche? What's your, who's your audience? Who's your ideal client? I'm talking about drilling down to one specific person in your life that you actually know personally, because what ends up happening is knowing that specific person that you know personally helps you write that book, uh, helps you stay committed to writing that book, because you have this sense of feeling like I have all this wisdom that I know will help that one specific person. And because you have that personal connection, you have this personal commitment to that person. You don't have to tell them you're writing the book for them, but there's just some kind of magic that happens when you write a book for that one specific person. And then the phenomena of that is when you publish your book, everyone that reads it will tell you that they felt like you wrote that book specifically for them. It's crazy. I don't understand it, but I do it all the time, and people say, come back and tell me that I wrote that book specifically for them. So that I love, love, love telling people, think about your who, but specifically, not just like a general idea of who your who is. I know a lot of people think that they have to go into writing a book. They want to be like a New York Times bestseller, so they think they have to write a book that will appeal to all audiences, to everyone. But a lot of us already know that there's no way that we can please everyone. So I mean, that just creates writer's block. So what's the point of, thinking about creating a book that will please the masses? Think about writing that one book for one person that you know personally, not a figment of your imagination, someone that you know personally. There's a lot of people who'll tell me, well, I want to write it for that one woman that I know. She doesn't exist, but I know she's sitting in the cave somewhere. And I'm like, no, 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 don't do that, because you don't know her problems. You think you know her problems, but you don't know her problems. But if you know someone's personally, especially like us coaches, we're always like ready to give advice or ready to coach people through their problems. So like when you know someone personally, you know exactly what they need, and that helps you create your what. And so your what is your outline for your book. And that's where a lot of people get stuck too. It's like, well, I have no idea what to write about, or I have a million and one ideas. I don't even know which one to start with. And so what I tell them is just think of 10 pieces of advice that you would give your who is the person that you picked, 10 pieces of advice for that person, and that would be your 10 chapters. You can create a concise book. Nowadays, people love concise books. We are all programmed to have ADD because of social media and entertainment. Like if you pay attention to how everything is designed and created now, it's all for like short-term attention spans. So a concise book will get you far. Also important about concise books is people are starting to recognize fluff. There's a lot of books out there with a lot of fluff, and it's done to like make a book thicker than it needs to be, just for whatever reason. I don't know, probably to charge a higher price for it or something. But people are becoming more aware of that, and they don't want to deal with that unless it's a memoir. I mean, memoirs I think can be fluffy. I mean, it's entertaining and thick, right? But for self-help nonfiction books, concise is great. So 10 pieces of advice, 10 chapters, keep it concise. Another reason why concise is important is because you want someone to read your book cover to cover. You want them to read your book cover to cover. You don't want someone to go through halfway and get tired of the content or get frustrated with the fluff. So that's another important. So when someone reads your book cover to cover, they're more likely to want to take the next step and work with you, whatever that might be. And then also very important is your why. The why is, why do you want to write a book? I talk about writing books to help you create more confidence with yourself and your business, to create more credibility with yourself and your business, and more important, to get more clients. That's all wonderful. These are all awesome benefits of writing a book. However, that should not be your why. Whenever we make, because again, a lot of us are in this business to help people, we have big hearts. And if we made money our number one motivation for writing a book, we are going to put it off. We're going to find another project that will help us get money faster. And there's a million other things that you could do to get money faster. But because a lot of us have this calling to write a book, it's a project that our soul wants to complete. And so in order to complete it, we need to have like a soul purpose why. So for me, my big why is all about helping people be the voice they want to hear in the world. Get over your fears. I mean, I'm getting over my fears. I'm doing a video interview. And so I'm doing it anyway, right?
Right.
But so like, yeah, I gotta walk the talk. Ooh. But for my big why is to help people be the voice they want to hear in the world. Get over your fears, get over your social fears, and get out and do the things and be the things that you've always dreamed about doing and being. So whenever I tune into that, I'm like, oh, I gotta do this. Yeah, so I can't put it off. It helps me complete that project. The big why really has to come from your soul, from your heart. And I can't tell you what that big why is. You're going to have to like meditate on it and connect with that. And as soon as you know what that is, write it on a post-it note and put it in every room in your house and look at it while you're writing your book, because it's going to keep you going. It is the one thing that will keep you going, especially if you know your who. Especially because that why and the who is really connected. You're doing this for a bigger picture cause, and especially because you want to help that one person in your life. And magical things will happen when you do.
That's awesome. And I'm listening to you and I'm like, yeah, absolutely, because my philosophies are very similar to yours. So I love it that you have to put what you're working on right in front of your face, because that is what keeps you motivated. So 100% agree. And what sort of mistakes do you think people make when writing their books?
I do think one of the mistakes is not hiring a coach. If because there's so many reasons. I mean, even if it's a book coach or an accountability coach or any kind of a coach, letting them know that writing a book is part of one of your goals, they can help hold you accountable. And I think that's the biggest thing, is having someone to hold you accountable and having someone to help you through the hurdles, because you will come across several hurdles. And they show up in the form of writer's block, mind tricks, mind games. All of a sudden, your energy starts to create other things that are more important that you need to deal with. Um, you stop making it a priority, and having a coach does help you stay in line with that. Stay in line with your goals. Break down your goals so that they're achievable, and then ultimately get you to the finish line. And yeah, and then another mistake, I have to say this, another mistake that I see a lot of people do is not schedule their writing time. I think people feel like they have to wait until inspiration hits for them to write, but that is one way to write your book, but it's going to take you forever to get it done, if you ever get it done. But the best way to get a book done, especially if it's nonfiction, especially if it's for business owners and entrepreneurs to write a book, you already have all that content in your head. So all you need to do is set aside 30 minutes every day, turn up, use a kitchen timer to get you going, and just write, and have make sure you have that outline in place first. I always forget to mention that, and everyone's like, do I just write whatever I want? No, you got to write. It's got to make sense. It's got to be part of your outline. Unless there are some people who do like a lot of free flowing writing and automatic writing, which is awesome too. I could go on and on. I'm sorry, go ahead. You look like you have more questions, so.
No, I'm just sitting here. It's like talking to a mirror. So
Oh,
it's
really?
just pretty.
That's
It's really
awesome.
funny because the people who hire me are the ones who've tried to write their book on their own for years, and then they're like, it's never going to get done unless I have someone moving my project forward. So that's why I'm like smiling and nodding, because I'm totally on with that. Any before we go into wrap up mode, do you have any other words of wisdom, nuggets for people who are writing or want to write a book?
I would say I've noticed there's a lot of advice out there that says go ahead and design your book cover first before you start writing. I don't like that advice at all. I just want to throw that out there. I hope I'm not like, you know, um, I'm not trying to burn any bridges with any other coaches out there, but I mean, I'm big on vision boards, and I'm big on imagining or visualizing the things that you want to create. But I just feel like I've seen a lot of people who've designed their book cover first get stuck because they've already encased their goals within something that doesn't necessarily reflect the magic of their book and their channeled wisdom and their knowledge and all that stuff. So they kind of get like, you know how like actors get typecasted by creating the book cover and the title and all of that stuff first. You're kind of pigeonholing yourself into something that isn't going to shine as bright as you possibly could. So I highly recommend to do your who, what, why first, then write your book, and then go back and do the fun part of designing the book cover and coming up with a cool title.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan. Absolutely. So let's talk real quick about work-life balance. What do you do to achieve that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Balance. So I have to admit, I'll admit, lately that has been a priority for me. And I Google Calendar is my saving grace. I started making appointments with the gym. I make appointments with getting ready for work. I make appointments for being at the office. I make appointments for my fun time. And that's kind of how I, schedule I have to schedule my balance, but I always feel like being a balanced person means you don't have to schedule. I don't know.
And
you
what
know,
sorts of things do you do for fun? And it's a leading question because I kind of know
you
the
already
answer.
know.
Yeah, but the listeners might not.
I know. Okay, so my favorite thing to do in life right now is comedy. And I'm taking comedy writing classes and improv classes at the Second City. And I've done some stand up classes, and I've done stand up too. And it's something that my audience has pushed me to do. I was doing a few talks last year, and um, a bunch of strangers after the talks would come up to me and say, "Oh my God, you're so hilarious! You should do stand up. You should be a comedian. Have you ever thought about it, or do you already do it?" I'm like, "Oh no, and and it was kind of cool because for years, I've heard my friends tell me how funny I am, and I just figure they're laughing at me, not with me. So, I'm kind of a dork, whatever. But but it was kind of nice to hear it from strangers to say that you're funny, you should do it. And so I'm like, okay, well, the universe is telling me now this is my next chapter in life, and I've been pursuing it. So that's my fun. And going to shows, I love seeing sketches, and I love it. Comedy is my life now.
Fun, which leads into I think a good personal goal then to leave our audience with is to go take a class and do something fun that may or may not be related to your passion project or your day job or whatever, but to just go out and do something cool and fun that will feed your soul. So I think that that's a good personal goal. And the professional goal, I think, is to figure out the who, what, why of your book. Just sit down, schedule one of those 30-minute writing times, and just blast out those things, and you'll be well on your way. What do you think?
I would say that is some pretty good advice. Yes.
Well, it came from you. And thank you so much. We've been speaking with Lena Anani, the intuitive book coach, on the Guide to Goals podcast. And you can go over to guidetogoals.com to get the show notes. Thank you so much, Lena, for joining us today and for going out of your comfort zone and doing the
Yeah.
video podcast with us today. And everybody out there listening, if you want to write a book, you've got your marching orders, so go on out there and go for it.